we get done with that meeting, and I'm like, all right, because I mean, my mom was a teacher, dad was obviously a funeral director, so like I've always seen like worker, like somebody tells you to do something, you go do it. Like, and so I walked out of that office and I was like,
well, I feel like we haven't been here in a long time.
Feels that way.
But I know we only took a Monday off and we recorded 2 the week before that. So I don't know. It just feels like we haven't been here in a while, but we're going to record 2 podcasts this week. And what's really going to mess up our schedule is the bonus content that we'll record this week. The person that requested it said, no, y'all don't need to put that in the can. We want to get this out soon. So really, normally this episode would post
next week,
but it's going to be the week after that. So
that throws off a numbering then, episode numbering wise.
Yeah. So I can cross episode 64 off my notes because it won't be episode 64.
Which
That's right.
I actually show that this episode would have been episode 65.
Man, we're really...
Wait, 65 now?
Yeah,
because
like this is the other one, Angels episode that would have go live.
I didn't think about that.
So that's true. Now technically 66.
That's true.
Yep.
Dang.
Man, we're all messed up.
So we'll have Angels episode would be 64, and then bonus episode 65, and then this episode
would be 66.
Episode 66.
Wow.
All right. Well, let's just jump straight into it. We've got 3 different topic options. We can talk a little bit about Staff Retreat. That's why we didn't record an episode last week.
We did technically record an episode last week.
We did.
It's on
the road.
Now
that'll be out soon, probably.
Predicament.
But see, that's the thing is like, we don't know as we're recording that might be done before.
That's just bonus though to me. Like, I don't know if you
like just
you would post it itself.
Right. We would either number that specially or not number it at all.
Okay.
So
it would be a new playlist.
To the Broxton's credit, we had a Journey on the Road episode at Staff Retreat that will be coming in the days ahead for us to experience.
And to Neil's credit as well for getting it done.
I think there's a lot to talk about from Staff Retreat. Like, I think
Broxton found a hobby.
Well, that's where I was going to go. That's exactly where I was going to go.
Look at that smile on that young man.
Yeah, I tell you, the man was excited.
That's like Tammy coming in and saying she's never seen me smile like that. That's just...
I haven't ordered my club yet, but you just let me know.
I'm thinking about using our tax refund to order a full bucket golf set.
Say less,
oh, man.
boy.
I'm so happy for you.
Friday morning at 8:40, meet at Broxton's house.
How much is a bucket golf set?
You can get 9 holes for $140, I think.
That's pretty cheap.
That's not terrible.
But if we get somebody else to get a set, then we could have a full
18 holes.
We can borrow Chuck's system, whatever you call it, and then we'd have a full 18 holes. My backyard's not big enough for that, but
we still only played 9 at Staff Retreat, though.
Yeah, we could have played more than that if we
could have went all the way around.
Yeah,
we could set up a Friday at the Jameses out there.
Oh yeah,
and create like a pretty neat.
Some good friends of the Fox, because that's how Chase always brings them up.
Some,
but we did.
People close to us.
We had a good time at Staff Retreat. Shout out to the Wells. Yes. Not sure if they're fans of the program, if they even know it exists.
But that was a nice place.
Yeah.
And the book was,
good.
I mean,
we gave it better reviews than the last book.
You and I did, and Brother Ray actually gave it a worse.
He did.
It seems like the last couple books have been like, hey, let's read this. And then everybody be like, I don't really know how I feel about that.
Well, we were talking amongst ourselves, and I said, I'm not going to give anything an 8 or above if I can't answer that I would read it without it being assigned.
Yeah.
And it didn't meet that criteria, but it was okay enough to where I gave it a 7. Did you give it a 7?
I think so.
Yeah, which is higher than we normally give them.
Yeah, I normally give books a 3, 4, or 5.
And if you don't know the book was The Life You Were Reborn to Live by Gary Thomas.
Yeah.
So, Neil, I don't know if you want to go and pull the tape. I don't remember what episode it was, but we gave a pre-reading the book rating of the book. We were judging it by its cover. And so, I don't know. We got through 2 chapters,
Yeah.
2 days, and I don't know if it's one of those that'll. The plan is to continue it during our weekly staff meeting devotions, but who among us would not be surprised if we just drop it?
What has been y'all's favorite staff retreat book?
The Pursuit of God.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that too. A.W. Tozer.
I don't remember that.
That was early on, I think, in the early 2020s. But yeah,
I know they did it. They did it for like before I was here on staff. But maybe did we do it again?
No,
I think they
maybe
did
that
it
was-
as a church.
you
We
came
did
on
it
not
as a
long
church,
after I
didn't
did,
we?
though.
I came on before you,
Before?
like a month before.
I
Okay.
remember reading it.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
we did it as a staff retreat book and then turned around and did
Then
it for
did
a
it,
January
yeah.
book study. So I think we might have did it in a fall staff retreat. I remember we were at the cabin in Ashford because I remember having it.
Shout out Uncle Jimmy.
Would you count that as a classic?
I would say yes.
I don't know that it's a classic in the form of what we were getting at with maybe doing classics.
But I think it's still
More of a modern classic.
It's still a different set of book to me than what we read for this staff retreat.
Yeah.
I mean, I think A.W. Tozer.
It's hard for me to read him.
Tozer?
Why?
He'd be getting in my head.
That's good.
That's
I know, but it's like I don't want to have to read 3 pages and sit there and think about what I just read.
It's a lot. Yeah.
like at least
Now
let me
there-
get through a chapter.
I don't really know, Broxton, you can speak to this, but I've heard recently like some of the classics, they're releasing like modern versions of them. And I don't know the exact terminology to that, but
in an NLT format.
yeah, like cookie on the bottom shelf format kind of thing.
all right,
Needs-
Chuck, shout out.
needs some help. So,
Did we do the Red Sea rules as a staff, or did we just do that as a book study?
I think that was a
with the
book study, and
congregation?
that was before I got here too,
yeah.
or I was an intern, a lowly
I'm trying
intern.
to even remember other books.
My favorite was the Audience of One by R.T. Kendall.
R.T.
I liked
Kendall.
that one.
Okay.
That was a good one.
That was a good one. I remember that.
I did not like R.T.
think-
Kendall's.
But some of it depends on like maybe what you're experiencing when you read the book.
True.
Because you all know how it is. Some books you're like, this is the worst book ever. But if you really needed what it
Is it
applied
okay to mention that the pastor may have opened it up for us to possibly do something else other than a book study for?
Well,
the
you
next
just
staff
did,
retreat?
so
I know.
We do.
it's frowned upon, but
nah, it's not frowned upon. I think it's fine. It's part of a journey, because what he actually said was, do y'all think that this format for staff retreat has run its course? And so I think it falls right in line with the idea that God is always trying to take you someplace new, even at
Right.
staff retreat.
okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that's
We
impressive.
did a few different things as well.
A couple of times.
Had a little session with some cards, a think to perform exercise,
Mhm.
which I thought was very
I
very
did that
interesting.
with one of my man church groups.
Yeah.
It was
And
good.
then had some different times of different questions that I really enjoyed. I feel like it was like overall questions, but the way we were set up at tables, it really allowed you to kind of go more in depth. And that was a lot of fun until it wasn't.
Okay. There's a hidden episode in there, probably, maybe one day. Maybe one day Chase will look back on God's faithfulness out of what was birthed from that conversation.
Maybe.
Should we just leave it at that?
Maybe.
Okay. Talk about spiritual frustration.
In other news, Broxton really enjoyed the snacks at staff retreat as well.
He wasn't the only one.
I mean, I don't feel like I ate more than I normally do. I mean,
We have some good food.
I ate my
extra
typical-
toasty Cheez-Its.
yeah, I ate my typical Cajun filet biscuit in the morning and a donut, and then a cup of coffee, and then mainly just Cheez-Its throughout the day for me. I had a few cookies though.
Hey.
Speaking of biscuit, y'all, I cheated on
No, you didn't.
Chick-fil-A this morning.
Where'd you go?
Goldfingers.
Tried the new Goldfinger.
Okay.
It's better.
breakfast.
Their chicken's better.
I was actually pretty impressed. I still don't know if I could get to a routine
Oh,
with
you
going
could.
there.
Their chicken's way better.
But they had given, I was there for lunch one day and they had given out a little card for a free biscuit. And so I was like, I'm going to go by and try it out.
I just have to let you know, that's the only one in Dothan that does breakfast.
Right.
And I've been disappointed because they advertised throughout the month of April on Thursday mornings that you can order online, use the code GOLD, you get a free chicken biscuit. All right. I went 1 week and it worked. The rest of the 3 weeks, couldn't process my order. I'm talking about I put in 2 different cards, used a gift card, wouldn't process it.
Interesting.
So I'm a little frustrated by that. I was trying to get me a freebie.
It's dangerous for that Goldfingers to be as close to my house as it is.
Yeah.
Because Kayla and I are such creatures of habit that I feel like all we eat is like Texas Roadhouse, Chick-fil-A, Goldfingers.
Guthrie's.
We're done with Guthrie's.
Y'all bench north Guthrie's?
We haven't been to Guthrie's in a long time. Past 2 Sunday nights, we've been to Waldo's. I asked her last night, I said, is Waldo's the new Guthrie's? So we'll see.
What do you get? Do you get the tenders or the bone-in chicken?
The tenders box.
They're both good, but the bone-in chicken is really, really good.
I've never had that.
I've had it before. It's good.
It's hard to pass up the tender. I mean, $10 for a meal nowadays.
Hey, okay, this has nothing to do with the journey, but the thing we found out the other day was that Tuesday night at Goldfingers,
kids eat free. Yeah,
man, you talking about
now? Does that apply to all your kids?
Well,
is it one per meal?
One per meal.
Yeah.
So really, it can because Collins will eat like a adult meal.
He'd be sending Leah in there first. You order.
Hello, someone I do not know.
3 adult meals and then
Listen
3
to kids in whole clothes.
We get 3 adult meals and then 3 kids meals.
Yeah.
But they didn't. Last week we went for the first time and realized this because normally we have a different Tuesday night routine. And we went the other day and they didn't give me the code. Like they didn't give it to me. And I walked out and saw the sign and I'm like, dude, I just ate and could have gotten. So I walked back in there.
With his Ridgecrest polo on and caused a scene.
No, I did not cause a scene.
I'm Chase from.
Does this involve water?
No, it doesn't. Okay.
FBC MK.
I walked back in there and asked, and they, to their credit, they credited me back my kids' meals.
Now you're going to be recruiting me and Melanie. Could y'all each grab a kid and meet us at Goldfingers?
I don't even know if you have to have a kid with you. I mean, it sounds, but like.
You do have to dine in. So
yeah.
I don't know if they're like count heads or not, but so.
All right. So we, Stafford Street was good. Book was kind of mid. I am a fan of bucket golf. Anything else?
New hobby.
Yeah.
Well, I've still got to purchase a set. Right now it's just a fond memory. I'm either purchasing the set or counting on Chuck to invite me over to play bucket golf in his backyard.
It's time to put up or shut up now.
Yeah. So anyway, anything else from Stafford Street we need to cover? Be on the lookout for episode 1 of Journey on the Road. And of course, by the time this episode posts, it might have already posted. I don't know.
So one of the exercises that Auburn mentioned that we did basically forced us to take a bunch of values that everyone values and distill them down to our 5 most important to us. Do you remember yours?
No.
At all?
I remember 4 of them. Faith, family,
freedom,
honesty, integrity. There was one more I can't remember. I saved my deck of cards, though, in a certain way that I could look back and find what my 5 were.
Almost everybody on staff had faith. Almost.
Should we disclose?
I think we should let
us know in the comments.
Let us know which of our staff members do you think did not put the value of faith.
Now that.
And maybe if you comment the right person and get it, we'll give you something.
And so I think I was
give you your own deck of value cards.
I was thinking that.
I was the only one that didn't have family in mind, I think. And again, my explanation on that was Pastor had just preached on Job. And so as I was going through the exercise, I thought, well, how am I still going to feel full in Christ if God took all of these things away? And just as he did with Job, Job was still faithful after that. And so that's why I didn't have it, but I did feel guilty with everybody else having it. But I had faith, integrity, stability, excellence, And I can't remember my fifth one either, but I can remember that. And we had to distill it down from about 50 different values.
Yeah.
You remember?
Mine was faith, family, excellence. And I'm trying to remember the other two.
Cooperation or something.
Yeah, it was cooperation. Yeah, like working together.
Yeah.
That was one of them.
I remember that.
'Cause you
'cause I was
kept-
like, bro, what?
You kept questioning me on that one. So, but I can't remember the fifth one. But I have them in my notes from staff.
I was about to say, better check that Evernote file and
I have
pull them right up.
I have all yours in there.
Why do you do that? I've noticed at Staff Retreat that you do that. Like when we rate books, you put
Why are you the way
everybody's
that you are.
you put everybody's rating in there.
I just think it's just interesting to have everybody's thoughts and stuff in some sort of way to be intentional or something. If something ever stood out or I wanted to go back and talk to somebody about something, or
If the FBI ever comes, Chase will be like, it was this one, this one.
At
this
the
one.
right minute, he's going to put all this in AI and he's going to get a full profile on all of us.
so it's just, I don't know. I don't really know other than just to have notes. So
Okay.
it
All
helps
right.
me listen too. So like if I'm not,
Chase is an active listener.
That's what I was about to say.
if I'm not taking notes while I'm listening, it's easy to be like distracted by a lot of other things on my computer. So it allows me to kind of be engaged with the conversation better as I take notes. But the hard part about it is sometimes once I take the notes, I wonder if I spent too much time thinking about the notes or taking the notes that I didn't really comprehend what was being said.
Hey, bro, you got to quit overthinking.
There's
Just go ahead and say
something
it. I got problems.
with the movie Inception involved in all that. He's inside himself, and inside that
Yeah.
at the same time.
All right. So we've got 2 opportunities for content today. We've got a quote from Chase that he's been sitting on. He's got like 6 pages of notes over there. And it's just because he keeps adding every page of notes to every week. So we've got that, and Chase can share that if he wants. And then Neil's actually coming up with some pretty good content ideas.
Yeah.
So Chase, do you want to share your quote and then we can vote?
I don't think so. I think we go with Neil's content.
Okay.
All right. So you just doesn't feel the right time.
I don't know.
I don't even know what Chase really meant by that.
I didn't really
Well-
understand.
Lance was right about the Venn diagram. We need you to go into a Sunday school room, sketch it all out, and then call us in.
Yeah. I guess I just felt like
Podcast in the class.
in the pre-show text from yesterday, I felt like it was probably too confusing. So, and it's been multiple weeks now that this was like really fresh for me. So maybe we should just scrap it all together and I'll take it off my notes. I do think there's a portion of it that you and I need to talk about off the show though. So remind me to talk to you about that.
Thursday afternoons at 4:00.
Safe space.
All
Shut the
right.
door.
We had a safe space this past Thursday.
Moving on.
All right. So
Lance was safely at home on his day off.
on Facebook, it marked safe.
Safe from the safe space meeting.
All right. So Neil has another good idea. He asked us yesterday if we had ever talked about the history of our call to the ministry, when you knew that you were called to ministry, the thought process that went into that, what influenced it, family members, reservations we might have had, reactions, long-term goals, et cetera, et cetera. So I guess there's any number of directions that we could probably go from there.
Maybe we should go from longest tenure to least.
That would be you, Chase.
So for me, I felt called to ministry my freshman year of college. Stayed home, went to Wallace for 2 years, was serving here with Lloyd in the student ministry, teaching a middle school boys block party, I think we called them back then, at a house. I think there were 7th grade boys. We had a pool party and a Bible study in the summers. And so I was doing that. And then also I told Lloyd at the time that I would be open to doing anything else if he needed help in some sort of way. And he needed, as we always need, adult chaperones for Wired. So that summer of my freshman year, I was an adult chaperone for Wired. That would have been 2009. And as I was an adult chaperone, helping one of the evenings here at Ridgecrest. They had a special invitation for people that felt called to ministry. Never really on my radar, never even thought about it. Nobody really in my family that I know of, at least, has served in some sort of ministry capacity. And so that, I think whatever night of the week it was, felt that just kind of one of those, heartbeat moments, kind of Lord pulling and tugging at me that he was putting a calling like that on my life. And so kind of left that night at Wired. Lee was actually here as well. We were dating at the time, kind of ran out to the front of the, to find her out on the front steps of the worship center and just told her kind of what happened. And
That's when it was still here, right?
yeah, it was here at Ridgecrest. Yeah. So she looks at me and says, well, Chase, I really felt, I never told you this, but at some point felt like the Lord had said I was going to marry somebody that was in the ministry. And so I was like, wow, I wish you'd have told me that before now. But she was very encouraging, kind of talked me through that a little bit. And we kind of talked about it. That then led to obviously conversation with Lloyd, Brother Ray, and some different trusted men, and kind of prayerfully considering that. And the Lord did nothing but continue to confirm that he was calling me to a ministry setting. Didn't know exactly what that meant. Like, I didn't know where that might lead or what it would look like. Talked to my parents. Honestly, Neil has a good question, as far as like your family. And I was a little nervous for some reason to talk about that with mom and dad. I don't really know why, other than it was a little bit different than where I'd kind of already planned to go, which was in an education route. But they were nothing but obviously supportive and excited for me. And so kind of ended my couple years at Wallace, transferred from Wallace to Graceful down there, and interned here at Ridgecrest. And the Lord just kept opening the doors for youth ministry, and then led to a couple other churches that I served at, and kind of transitioned out of youth ministry in the last few years, obviously. So that's a quick scenario for me.
Who was preaching that night? Was that Dave Edwards?
It was Dave Edwards. Yep. I remember it was Dave Edwards.
Do you remember what he preached on? Was it like the whole point of it?
Probably got the notes of it.
Probably let me pull up my Evernote.
Life verse.
Don't have it on an Evernote, but I have the Bible that I know that I would have had with me. I probably have some notes in it.
You got a journal somewhere.
Yeah. Chase gave that sermon an 8.5.
So,
but like, I just didn't know if it was the whole theme of the sermon or if it was like at the invitation time.
No. Yeah. All I remember is that invitation moment. I can't really tell you anything else about the service other than we probably sang Glory to God or Mighty to Save, because that was like the hits back in the day.
That was.
And so
what? No, Just As I Am.
So probably sang those songs. Bradley was probably on stage singing with Tim and M and them. But I don't remember anything other than just that moment of, again, just that pull. I mean, just really a strong pull from.
Was that the first year of Wired or the second year?
Second year. First year of Wired was my senior year, summer of my senior year. So this was the year after that.
So how did you feel when, not to turn this into a Chase interview, but how did you feel when, like,
He had
was
to
it
teach us Sunday school?
Yeah, there's that part of the story too. And then he kept leaving us, but you came full circle and were the executive director of Wired of Wired for a couple of years after being called to ministry at Wired.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just a neat opportunity. And I think, for me, in a lot of ways, there's multiple full circle moments, whether it be coming back to Ridgecrest and being able to serve as a youth pastor after felt called to ministry in that setting, served here in an intern role for a few years, and then was able to come back. So yeah, just a neat opportunity to just really realize like how God's at work in every little thing. And sometimes you don't feel that way, especially in our shoes. And I don't know if everybody really can understand that, but it's like easy for us to sit and just think like, is anything getting across? Is anything really happening? Or people listening, or people paying attention? Teenagers, like, do they care about anything other than video games and sports and girls, And so it's just like, but no, there is life change taking place. And I can imagine that there were Sunday school teachers for me, or people that thought when I was a kid, like, man, what is this? Who's this dude? Is he ever going to do anything? Or is God going to do anything in his life? And just to come back and be able to now just try not to mess that up, and just try to be faithful and say, God, how you've used other people, God, would you use me to do the same in the lives of others and still grow too? I mean, just neat to still be back in settings of personal growth as a wired leader in different ways and grow through that and still be around people that meant so much to me and have them still talk to me and pour into my life, that kind of thing.
All right, cool.
It's wild to see, the darkest days down there at Laguna Beach, and he pushed through.
I wasn't on that trip, as we've already discussed.
Oh, yeah.
That was like the only trip Auburn ever went on. A couple of episodes ago, we talked about how Auburn didn't go to camp, but he did go to Beach Street, and I didn't.
That's why every time I went on a trip, I got reprimanded.
There was part of that was not dark.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay, moving on. Who wants to go next?
I think I'm next. So yeah, a little bit different for me. Obviously, I was in, if you want to call it, the secular world.
You had a real job.
Had a non-church job for 26 years. Out of college, I was a journalism major. 100% convinced that's what God had called me to do. Had a job in Coleman for 3 years, and then moved here to Dothan in 96 and was at the Dothan Eagle until 2019. And then there was an opportunity here at the church that I started to pray about, ask Melanie to pray about it, to see if this was God's plan, to see if I had anything to offer. And we prayed about that, and we felt this was a door that was open for a reason. And things fell into place. God opened doors. That's a prayer. I think we often pray that in our human frailty, we want to make sure that we don't read God wrong. And so we prayed that if this was God's plan, that those doors would swing wide open. And if they weren't, they'd be closed shut. And the opportunity came for me to come on as recreation minister. Then a couple of years later, I guess 3 years later, director of men's ministry along with that. And it's been great to see. It's just a blessing to be able to look back and to feel as certain as you can that you were doing what God called you to do then, and you're doing what God's called you to do now. And to be open to what God may call you to do next, because I never would have thought that I would ever be a director of men's ministry. I'd gotten burned out on men's ministry a long time ago. And when Pastor asked me to try to do something with the men's ministry here, I thought, man, you picked the wrong guy. But that's just a great opportunity for God to get all the glory.
Did you, when you were at the Dothan Eagle, at any point, like, I'm interested in how the ministry came to be. Like, had you always had some kind of desire, or was it?
But y'all were really involved with young adult age and college.
Yeah, because you've always been involved over the college building.
A lot of lay roles, for sure. But no, it's really funny because even before then, even just growing up as a kid, after I got saved, you should be working for the church someday. And I would always roll my eyes at that, because I think people just said that because I was a good kid. And that was the extent of their spiritual knowledge, was that, you're a good kid, you make good grades, you should work for the church. I always said, no, actually, you need a lot of good Christian people out in the other part of the world to make an impact. And that's always where I thought I would wind up. So this didn't come till much later.
Did you have a moment though where you felt like, man, God wants me to work in a ministry setting one day, possibly, or was it like when the opportunity came, you then felt that?
When the opportunity came, it was definitely more that. I never, like I said, I would roll my eyes, because I think, again, people think just because you try to do good, that means you're going to be a person that's going to work for the church. But I never shut the door on that or anything. I would never say, oh, that'll never happen. But I didn't really feel that this was something that God was opening a door for until then.
Do you think it would have worked out any differently if the position that was open wasn't rec ministry? Like, Do you think
Well,
you would have pursued it the same way?
I don't know. That's a good question because I did say, I wanted to feel like I actually had something to offer. And it's a dotted line between the work that I was in and recreation ministry, but it's not there's somewhat of a connection there.
Yep.
So I did feel like I could offer something there, and that helped make the decision, I think.
Is there a portion of the two? So you do rec and you do men's ministry. I'm not necessarily asking you which one you like better, but I kind of am. Like, do you feel more passionate about one? Do you feel like you're using your gifts? Last night at Man Church, we talked about gifts.
Yeah.
And that was more in the context of the way that God's made you and how sin can cause you to misuse your gifts. And then when you're redeemed and you have the power of the Holy Spirit, you feel like you're operating in your gifts for the good of the kingdom. Do you see that in rec ministry versus men's ministry more?
I don't know. I think that I've been blessed to be able to see some fruit in both of them. So I think it tends to skew how you feel about those, or as to which one you're seeing fruit in now. And but I've certainly enjoy both of them, and that's a great thing about, I think, Ridgecrest is allowing flexibility and being able to
Agile,
being able to craft a position that allows you to spend some time and effort in both. So I love both of them.
All right, cool.
I think it's interesting, and I'd love to hear y'all's take a little bit that you said you feel like just because there's somebody who's a good kid that people naturally think they should work in a church. Like, I guess I just wonder, do y'all feel that way? Or because I'm just sitting here thinking, like, I think, wondering like whether or not, because people told me the same thing, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So like,
And here we are.
I understand what you're saying, that it's kind of but also I think there's a level there that God uses people to push you in ways to things that he's leading you to do long before you even get there sometimes. Cause I had people tell me that too.
Yeah.
So I just love to hear y'all's thoughts on that.
I think so. I think I see it more now, like with me being with kids so often, that like I will go home and tell Samantha, like, hey, this kid, he could be in the ministry.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where like I feel very careful not to tell them that, in a sense.
Yeah.
Because I can't tell you what God's calling you to do. And I don't want to be the one that has, told you this, and that not be what God has called you to do. Like I think of a couple guys right now that I'm like, they could really, if they sought, to do this and God called them to do this, they could do an awesome job. But it's like that fine line of like telling people stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I can think of 50 guys off the top of my head in this church that could easily serve Ridgecrest here in a full-time capacity. It's just not what God's called them to do.
Right.
But as far as being men of God, man, they would be great assets here. But just going back to what I said originally, man, we need that all over the workplace in every facet of where people are. And I'm glad that God calls people to both places.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I just always felt like that's as far as they went, was just, oh, well, you're a good person, so you need to work in the church. But like you said, same thing was said to you, and we're both here.
Yeah.
So there's obviously was something that God was working in that early.
I feel like I heard it from people like after the fact, almost more often than like before. And from the sense of like, oh, I could always seen that.
Yeah.
Or like, you could always tell,
I knew something was going to happen.
which to me, I kind of appreciate that side a little more than like someone telling you, cause when you're young, you get people telling you stuff and like, that's all you can think about. And you want to make sure you're doing what God's called you to do.
Yeah.
All right. This might take us on a little bit of a detour, but I do think it's related to this. So a passage that came to mind when we were talking about people telling you, oh, you should work in a church, or you should be a preacher or whatever. That's always an interesting thing too, is like people just assume, oh, he's going to be a preacher one day, but there's all these other roles in the church. Anyway, I thought of 1 Timothy chapter 3, when Paul says, this is a trustworthy saying, if someone aspires to be a church leader, he desires an honorable position. So what do y'all think about like the nature of calling and the connection to, this is just something that I want? Because I think what Paul's implying here is that people do just want to be a church leader, but what if they're not called to it? So when people tell you things like that, does it feed your desire to be involved in church leadership? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, not necessarily. It was kind of like when someone said that, it was like, what? You know, like, is at the point that they were telling me, and I guess it might be similar to you, like it was never something on my radar. So once that moment happened at Wired 2009, it was like, then I went back and could piece together. They were moments where it was like, where somebody said this or somebody said that really allowed me to like look back and say, so I would say it didn't really fuel it. It more so confirmed it.
I think, and I could be wrong about this, but I think, let me just back up and say what I feel. I feel that I was just as called to be a journalist as I am now to be a rec minister and a director of men's ministry. I believe God had that plan for me. So I think it's important for people that may never work in a church to know that God has callings for their lives. And I'm sure that we could bring people in here, a lot of them, and say, yes, what I'm doing right now, I feel certain that God has called me to what I'm doing right now and is using me for that purpose. There is obviously in Scripture, there is direct callings into the pastorate for sure. And I think there is a special calling for that, and it is a high honor too. So I think that's just important to note that God calls you to a lot of things.
Yeah.
At different times and at different seasons.
And that's what I kind of, the idea of like a church leader versus like called to ministry. Well, I mean, we're all in a sense called to be a church leader. That doesn't mean we work at church all week. I like you mentioned, talking about other guys who could serve here and do great jobs, like, but they're called to something else, but they're living out their purpose and what God has created them for, not only in their workplace, but also as servants here at church. And I don't know, to me, it's almost at times, I don't know how I can say this. At times, I think we can almost get like jealous of these people because it's like, you have a job that you're called to, but you're also doing so much here at church, and I feel like for me, at least, I can think about like, oh, well, my job is church and obviously we do stuff up here, but it's like, think about how much these people are giving as well. And it's kind of like this self-reflection of like, are you really giving your all? These people are, outside of the church all week and still putting the time and energy.
Okay, cool.
What do you think?
About my question?
Yeah.
I don't know. I do think there's a distinction between like just in this passage, because Auburn's right, everybody's called to ministry per se. And I think that causes a lot of confusion with people that say things like this because, I surrendered my life to the ministry, and I don't think we mean this when we say that, but like, duh, you surrendered your life to Christ, therefore you surrendered your life to the ministry. But I do think there's a clear distinction here between just the general call to follow Jesus and advance his kingdom and what Paul's saying. And it's just, I guess I can't explain why I was just prompted about this, but it's just someone aspires to be a church leader. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know if like, I'm trying to figure out if I had that desire in me before I began feeling called to ministry or not. And then kind of like y'all said, once you're already going down that path, it's more of an encouragement thing when somebody says, you know, I've always thought that you would be doing something in ministry.
It is a compliment. And it's also worth noting that we're in a relatively new era in the church of paid church staff. And so if you were called in the ministry for the overwhelming majority of the church age, you were called to be a pastor.
Yeah.
And then everything else was filled in by volunteers.
Yeah, I've always had a big, maybe not big, but like anytime we talk about persecution and Peter talking about how anybody who desires to live a godly life is going to be persecuted. And I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this.
Yeah.
And I feel persecuted not one bit.
Right.
And so that's always like a reality check for me, kind of going along with what Auburn said. These people are given so much of their time in addition to their 40 plus hour work week. How could I not give my best in what, I mean, like we literally have it made here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, we're very blessed. And I always have struggle. I have some guilt about asking volunteers to do any more than they're already doing because, you know, they've got families, they have full-time jobs, they may be going through some other things that are taking time, and they're already doing a good bit for the church. So I always have a struggle when I ask them to do something else.
all right, what about you?
Well, I first felt called to ministry as a senior in high school. Actually, after the last night of Wired. I'll never forget. I really didn't know what it meant, but I was riding home with a friend, and we for some reason my car was at his house, and my house was like a couple miles from his house. We're like in between our houses, and I'm just like full of tears, can't really explain it. And I just look at him, I'm like, look, dude, I feel called to ministry. And he was already, you know, he served in the worship band and different things and was kind of saw some behind the scenes. And I was like, I feel called to ministry. I don't know what that means, and I don't want you to ask me about it. And he didn't. And still to this day, he's never asked me about it. But it was one of those things where like,
He'd have to text you back. So
he would have to text me back, which he does not do. But it was one of those things where I was like, I had to get it off my chest, but like I didn't want to,
because you hadn't fully processed it.
I didn't want to figure it out. And honestly, after that, I didn't think anything else about it. And so I went to a couple years at Wallace, and then went to Troy. And while I was at Troy, my roommate, actually, he was going into ministry. So he was getting a business degree. And I was doing the same. I had always thought I wanted to be like a hospital administrator. And then I started doing some more. I was like, well, I want to be an accountant. And I took accounting too. And I was like, no, I don't want to be an accountant. So then I was like, well, this program at Troy was risk management and insurance. And I really, to be honest, didn't care about the insurance side as much as I enjoy like the risk management side of like, hey, you can just travel all over and you can look at, you know, go to this building and give them a consultation and then you just leave and they, you know,
on to the next place.
Yeah. And not that like I always wanted to travel, but I just thought it'd be cool because no day would be the same. And so I end up towards the end of graduation, it's like, all right, what am I going to do? It's either like move to Birmingham or Atlanta, go work for a company. And I was like, that's not really me. I'm not really a big city, you know, guy, knock on wood. But I remember, probably like March, April, May, I really began to pray about like, where does God want me? Like, what does he want me to do? And there came up in a job here in town with a local guy. His name was Luke. And throughout the course of like those months, my Bible studies just kept going back to the book of Luke, like random. And I even remember writing down one day, like, this can't be that random. Like, I had talked to him some, and then in the story, I ended up getting a job with him, come back home. And I knew probably after the first week, I was like, this just isn't for me. It was in a desk all day, in which, I mean, I sit at a desk all day anyway.
No, you don't. But yeah,
like,
I mean,
I was in a small office by myself, just straight like, hey, we've got these list of people, just call them all day. And they'd be like, the number you have dialed is not connected, whatever. So it was just, I just hated it, to be honest. And he was great. The office was great. The people were great. I was just like, this is not what God has called me to do. And so I remember really, really, really praying about it for, I don't know, the next few weeks. And I remember one day I was going to work, and the way our house was set up, mom's a teacher, so she would always be up early. Well, I remember getting behind the couch towards walking out, and I had my little satchel briefcase thing at the time. And it was almost like this audible voice of like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? And so I just remember like kind of stopping. I was like, wow, okay. This was a Thursday. And then I ended up going to work, and all the way to work, I was like, I've got to tell my boss, like, I can't do this. And like, I had talked to nobody at this point. And then fast forward, and he gets to work late. Of all days, that's the day he's late. And I just walk in there, and I'm like, I just break down on him. He's a great Christian guy. And I'm like, look, I feel called to ministry. I haven't even told my parents. Like, I don't even know what this means or what this looks like. But like, I've got to let you know. Like, I don't think I'm going to be here. And he was great. He was like, well, that's awesome. He was like, go home, take the rest of the weekend, pray about it. Just let me know if you're coming back or how long you're coming back, whatever. Well, then, I ended up going to my Nana's house first, and my Nana was like, I thought somebody had died the way you walked in. And so I talked to her, and she's like, they're going to be fine, and then I talked to Mom, and she was great. And then I talked to Dad, and Dad was, I'm going to be honest, I was like, man, this is going to be rough. Just from the aspect of like, he just thought I was going to quit my job and didn't know what I was going to do. Mm-hmm. And that really wasn't my mindset. My mindset was like, I'm going to stay here until I figure out. Mm-hmm. And then at some point throughout that, came and saw Chase as well. He asked me that same question, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Is this really what you're supposed to be doing? And so that was like another confirmation kind of deal. And then I remember the next day on that Friday, we went to Old Mill with Brother Ray. And Ray was like, well, what are we doing here? Because Dad knows him more well than I did at the time. And Dad was like, well, he feels called to ministry, but I've never experienced that. So I just want him to talk with you.
How about that?
And we talk, and he was like, well, how do you know? And I was like, I just know. I can't really explain it. I just know. He was like, okay, same thing for me. He was like, same experience.
Who did Wired that time?
I don't remember actually. That would have been 2015. So was that the year they had a bunch of different speakers?
No.
Was that the Austin Wadlow year?
Yes, it was Austin. Nope. No, that was the next year. My perfect memory.
I don't know. We'll have to go back. We'll have to go back and look. But
Tony Nolan was our junior year, so it wasn't him. It might have been Dave Edwards again. He might have come back that year.
Might have been.
And Dave Edwards, he's an Awesome August alum too. Do you remember when he did Awesome August?
Yeah.
One time he even commented on our.
He did. Hey, when y'all gonna ask me back?
It was. I don't know if it was Awesome August literally or if it was just a regular service, and somehow it came across his Facebook feed one day while we were live, and he said, "Always loved my time at Ridgecrest. I spoke at Awesome August one time. Y'all want to have me back?"
Actually. Random thing. I actually think his mom runs his Facebook.
Chill out, bro.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So it was just wild. And then Brother Ray was like, I'm going to give you this book to read. And after reading the book, I was like, yeah.
What book was it?
It was Is God Calling You? I think is the name of it. It's a really good book. I actually, one of my cousins, he's in ministry. I sent it to him when he was praying about it. But after that, I think I worked another week or two, and I had talked to Chase through that time. He was like, "Yeah, come hang out. We'll you can hang out, learn, be around." And I remember I called him one day. I was like, "Chase, what's up?" He was like, "Hey." I was like, "I'm coming. I'll be there Monday. I'll be up there all day." He was like, "Wait, what? Like you quit your job?" I was like, yeah, I'm gonna figure it out. So then I started interning, and that was a lot of fun. I remember that first day. I didn't know where anything was, and I think it was almost beach retreat time. And Chase tells us, me and this other guy at the time, and he's like, "Hey, I need y'all to get this list of stuff together." And I'm like, I took it like a job. I'm like, all right, let me write down some notes. So like, I got this full sheet of notes, and the other guy with us was like, I don't even know if he knew the first note. And so we get done with that meeting, and I'm like, all right, because my mom was a teacher. Dad was obviously a funeral director. So like, I've always seen like worker, like somebody tells you to do something, you go do it. Like, and so I walked out of that office, and I was like, all right, bro, I'm going to get started. And my man with me was like, all right, give me a few minutes, get ready. And I was like, all right, sounds good. And after that, it just, stayed up here. I guess I was up here, I don't know, 9 months, 10 months, and was honestly thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I don't know how much longer I can do this. I'm not really making any money. I'm gonna have to. I might have to go find a job somewhere, like you had
it like a indention in my couch.
Yeah, I did.
It's like your spot is like where you sat all day.
And I was working though. You gotta admit.
Oh, I'm not.
I was getting it done.
No, you were doing a great job, and I was very glad.
I was dang near a slave. I mean, I was. My back was broken.
When you reported to Chase, if Chase had given you a list and said, "Hey, go to this desk and call these people,"
I know, for real. And through all of that, you had COVID, so there was some special stuff we did. So I got to. I've always been handy with technology, but like we went a little stupid sometimes on what all we did. So got to really see like
Chase has PTSD. If only you could see his face right now.
We saw like all sides of ministry. You saw the normal weekly stuff, but you saw like the tech side, the above and beyond, and like that stuff. And then so that summer comes, and Chase calls me in one day. He's like, "Hey, the guy who's here, he's headed to a new journey, and
the journey never ends."
And he was like, "We want to hire you." And I was like, "Say less." That figures out my questions I had. And so after that, I guess I've been here the last 6 years in August, and so they haven't gotten rid of me just yet. So, but I love it.
Does 6 years include the sit on the couch, or 6 years from the
6 years from that,
actually?
Yeah, so seven technically.
7 and counting the indention to the couch.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's fun. People ask me, I guess, because you've been in youth ministry, and for many church people, youth ministry is a stepping stone. And I don't know. Of course, one day I hope to. I've never really said this. I've told Samantha this, but like I would
breaking news.
I would love to be a pastor one day, like a senior pastor one day. But I don't feel called to that right now. Like
whatever you do, don't say I'll never be a pastor.
Yeah, no, I'll never say that. But I just love students. And I know my stage of life right now is changing. And, in the future, we hope to have I hope one more. She would like for 2, maybe not as many as the Falk family, but I know that changes. But I'm like, there's something fun about like students, and they are always changing, and it's always something new. And I don't know. I don't think of myself as like coming to work and doing the same thing every day. I come to work and I'm like,
it's different.
You never know. Yeah. And that excites me. It's so much fun.
Well, what was the craziest thing I ever asked you to do?
I don't really know. Now, most everything was pretty normal. There was some stuff that I'd be like, this is stupid.
I'm not going to do that when I'm youth minister.
I don't know. I never really had any of those. Like, I mean, I felt like everything we did was pretty intentional. There wasn't anything kind of crazy.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking like, I just felt like we probably did some stupid stuff.
I mean, I didn't really like heights. So anytime he was like, hey, grab this ladder, I was like, hey, bro, I don't know about that.
Then I took you on an airplane.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we did all those yard signs, that was one of those things that I was like, this might be a waste of time, but in the grand scheme of things, like the people really enjoyed it. And it we didn't have to go get any tarps or anything. So that was a good deal, but I can't really think of anything.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I can't really think of anything crazy. I don't really have a great memory. Like I remember stuff, but I don't have a great
You don't
memory
have
of
my
like
memory.
events.
Yeah. I think I remember as an intern with Lloyd, like the craziest thing that I felt like he used to always want me to do was set up the chairs a different way every Wednesday night.
Yeah,
I was going to bring that up. Why was that?
He just felt like it was like a way to engage something different with the kids when they walked in and it not be like a routine and you just sit in the normal like rows of chairs.
I feel like that's something Neil would come up with. Like he's literally over there giving a thumbs up.
So, I mean, every Wednesday night, and I would go in there and I'd be like, how many ways can you set up these maroon plastic chairs in this room? But I would do it.
I do remember, I taught Sunday school. I taught I think at the time it was like 10th grade. I remember the first night you let me teach. I had my little black notebook. I bet I had 3 little small pages of notes. I bet that lasted like 6 minutes. I don't even know. It was quick.
I think the first time,
but at the time I had to figure out. I was like, man, I need to have something that can like establish me some points, So I did the deny yourself, take up your cross, and then I remember when I first got hired full time, that first month, you were going through the book of Haggai. And I remember you asked me like on that Monday, you're like, all right, so, like, I know you haven't like taught a ton. Like, do you want to follow the same like series? I was like, yeah, we can do that. And I remember we did about 3 or 4 weeks of that. And I walked in there that next Monday. I was like, hey, Chase, I think I'm going to do my own thing. Cause like you didn't like give me your stuff, but it was like, let's kind of stay on the same kind of direction. And I was like, hey bro, I'm going to do my own thing. You're like, all right, cool.
All right, Broxton.
All right. So let's see. How do I make a long story short?
Easy.
Says the one who just went the longest of all of us yet.
I mean, I had a longer story though. I mean,
so I was at, it was my freshman year at Alabama, and it was a spring semester of my freshman year at Alabama. I had, over Christmas break that year, I had like started having a little bit of a crisis. Like, did I make the right decision coming to Alabama? And I never even looked at another school. I don't know why. I don't know if football played a part in that. Probably a lot, but I never even looked at another school. And so I came home for Christmas after that first semester and had a little bit of a midlife crisis. And my dad was like, well, I mean, we can look if you want to do something else. And I don't even know what it was. Like, I don't know if because I went to Northside. It was a small school. And then you go to, from that to 38,000 students. But I knew that I wanted to be a CPA, or thought I wanted to be a CPA. And so
you got the personality for sure.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what people had told me is like, oh yeah, I could see you being an accountant. And so
I could see you not talking to
but
people.
But he didn't like math.
Yeah. I always thought that was weird too. But also looking back now, I don't understand why I wasn't good at math. I think, or why I didn't like it. I feel like because it's so cut and dry, like this is how you do stuff. And there's no like theoretical.
It's black and white.
Yeah.
Does that mathematically frustrate you?
Yeah. But that's all water under the bridge. So anyway, so I went to Alabama partly because of football, partly because of my 2 cousins were there. And so we were going to live together, partly because they have really good accounting programs. So there's all that. And then after that first semester, I started really questioning that. But me and my dad came to the conclusion that I should at least, go that second semester and just see if anything changed. And so I got involved at Church of the Highlands and started going there and started serving on the production team. And I did their 252 student internship too. And so basically I started, no brainer. Like I started, meeting people and making friends. And then like the midlife crisis started to go away. But I was serving on the production team there and just running Road Presenter for them. I really hit it off with the production director there, Jackson Willis. And it was probably a month and a half or so that I was consistently doing that. And I don't really know, I can't pinpoint the moment that things started to change, but it was around March of 2016 that I just started feeling something different. At that point, I hadn't even really, it was my freshman year, so I hadn't even got into an accounting class or anything. So I didn't have a moment like Auburn where I took something and was like, well, this ain't going to work.
It wasn't that it was hard. My teacher made his own textbook and he was like, oh, it was interesting.
Everybody has those moments in college.
Yeah. So anyway, things just started to change. And I don't know if it was because I was serving in different capacities. Like part of the 252 internship at Highlands was, we had our Thursday night college service and there were so many of us that you would serve on a different team every week for one. So like one week you might be in usher, which I absolutely hated because people, and you have to show people to their seat and all this kind of stuff. And then you would serve on the prayer team one week and then like the greeter team one week, all this kind of stuff. All I really wanted to do was serve on the production team because I was already serving.
Half the month you didn't want to go, half the month you were ecstatic.
I liked being at the service, but I didn't want to be on something that it was out of my comfort zone, right. Frankly. And that was why they were doing it, to expose you to different areas of ministry within the church. But anyway, so that went on for a couple months and I got closer and closer with Jackson. And then part of the internship was we had the service every week, but also like on Monday nights we had chapel and just for us. And there was a rotation of like the 252 leadership team that would do the message every week at chapel. And a guy named Colin Spradley, one of his times to share was, I don't even remember the passage, but the theme was, at the end of the day, we're doing all this stuff for people and people are all that matter. And so I think that Holy Spirit started spinning my wheels with that. And then I was doing more and more with the production team and I was at Bojangles one day because Bojangles was right around the corner from our apartment. And
made a few stops a couple of times.
We did. So you got Bojangles and jalapenos and McDonald's. But anyway, so I think it was a Friday, Thursday or Friday. I don't know. But after class one morning, my afternoon classes got canceled. So normally I would not go in Bojangles. I would just go through the drive-thru and then go home. For some reason I went in that morning and there was an older gentleman there. I was sitting in the corner. And so, another worst nightmare, a stranger in a restaurant striking up a conversation with me.
Did he pull his chair out in front of the front door and make you interact with him?
No, much to the chagrin of Gary Thomas and in our staff retreat book, he didn't do that. But
chagrin.
Anyway, he struck up a conversation and asked, what I was studying. Was I a student at Alabama? What I was looking to do, that kind of thing. And I guess that I told him that I was, studying accounting. I was hoping to be a CPA one day. But then I had also told him like, I'm doing all these things at church. And I guess after a while, he just kind of looked at me and said, well, I don't really think you're going to be an accountant. And I was like, okay, tell me more. And I don't remember all of it, but I think I do remember him just saying, I think after, and I never met him before, so it was like completely random.
Could you say he was an angel among us?
A harbinger.
Brother Ray talks about that.
Could have
when
been.
people come.
I don't know. He was I also remember he was he was an army chaplain. So he did that kind of work. And he just said, I don't think you're going to be an accountant. He said, I've listened to your heart for, 30 or 45 minutes, whatever it was. And he said, I just think God has something better and bigger for you than that. And I said, okay. And so I took that and just kind of, I think I came home that weekend and started thinking about it. And then the next week I set up an appointment with our college pastor at the time and just told him all that. And he was just like, well, you're serving on the production team. I said, I'm going to talk to Jackson and see what I can do. And I didn't ask him to do that, but he just kind of, based on what I told him, he just took it upon himself to do that. So that was like a Monday. And then the next Thursday next Wednesday, we had like a scheduled production team. Like we went to dinner or something like that. And so we all ate. And then Jackson took me aside and said, he said, so Bubba talked to me. And I was like, about what? I didn't know if I was going to get in trouble about something. And he said, well, he said, you were called to ministry and you don't really know what that means, but he asked if I could basically give you more responsibility. And so I basically started learning how to do everything Jackson did. And for one, every Thursday night, I went from running lyrics to, directing the service and all that kind of stuff. And I just did that for a couple more years until I eventually ended up leaving Highlands because of other things that I was trying to work out. And came home that summer and talked to Ray about all that. And at that point, Jonathan was still here, and I just started interning over at Acts 29 back when it was Acts 29. And then the summer after that, I interned with David and to do more like media ministry and production stuff specifically, rather than just being like a general intern for the staff. And so that was kind of how that door opened up. And I, met with Ray several times over the summer and didn't really know what it was, but I just felt like I was supposed to work in a church, and I wanted it to be media and production ministry. And at the time that wasn't really an option. So I just kind of was working with David, and that's how I got started doing internet stuff like social media. But now it's kind of come full circle, and I'm doing like what I was doing with Jackson. And so like I'm living in that moment of this is what I'm really extremely passionate about. And there was never a doubt in my mind. Like I just never looked back.
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot more there that we could talk about, but
so you're living in the sweet spot, some would say.
Some would say.
Awesome.
That's good. So do you think you would have been an accountant? I mean, I think we're all feel good about our callings here and that we are where we're supposed to be, but do you think you would have been an accountant, or do you think you would have wound up somewhere else and if you'd not been called in the ministry?
I don't know, because once I started questioning that, I changed my major and went from the business school over to the College of Communication and Information Sciences.
How many times did you change your major?
Just the once. Well,
I don't even think I had declared a major.
Yeah. So I would say maybe twice, but I don't think that early on I had officially declared.
Right.
Because there for like 3 weeks, I was looking at changing my major to telecommunications and film, but I didn't want to produce movies. So I was like, I'm not going to do this. So then I changed it to just communication studies.
What about you, Auburn? What do you think you would have done otherwise?
I don't know. I think I would have, in some way, shape, or form, ended up a teacher.
Chase?
Yes. It's like my family. I don't know.
Both of y'all?
Most of my family's teachers. And
yeah, same. I mean, I was looking into education and was going that route for some sort of teaching degree and coaching kind of thing. So I think it would have been something like that. And I think that shows a little bit of a passion towards students and kids and influence in that kind of realm with in a classroom setting. So that would have been the direction I would have taken.
Guidance counselor at Alabama suggested I take a macroeconomics class. And I got in there, and my first day, I was so completely lost. I mean, it was literally like they were speaking a language that I had no idea what they were talking about. And I went back and said, you got to find me something else. I'm not going to survive in there. And going back now, I wish I'd have stuck it out, because a lot of the books that I'll just choose to read are economics books. I think there might have been something there, not in the accounting area or anything like that, but just in a bigger picture. And I've always been fascinated with the law. When I was writing, I could have hung out at the courthouse all day long and just plopped in any random courtroom and just stayed all day. I think finances would have precluded me from going into law, but I've always been fascinated by it.
I do sometimes wish that I hadn't changed my major, because I still could have ended up doing the same thing, but at least I would have had a accounting degree instead of a communication studies degree. I mean, it all worked out.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to lie and say that, earlier we talked about we're not persecuted, we're getting paid to do this. I'm not going to lie and say that there's not at least a little uncertainty in the back of my mind if something ever changes where that can no longer happen for us, and we, are actually persecuted.
Good luck with that communications degree, Broxton.
Right. So, I mean, but I also think accounting's not as future-proof as I thought it was going to be.
No.
With artificial intelligence.
Of course, I thought journalism was future-proof also.
See, I could see myself too, because I always liked business. Like my classes I enjoyed. I didn't have any issue. Like something Matthew does, I could see myself doing something like that.
You're really organized. You're really good at administration.
Thank you.
All right.
Hence no notes.
So
Comments, giveaways.
Yeah.
I don't have any comments, but Chase, we do have a outside comment from a listener that's mad that we haven't addressed the giveaway they offered. So
yes. So speaking of that giveaway from that outside comment, because I guess he didn't want to put the comment in the comment section. But we have from Mitch Lucky a free oil change and tire rotation from McGriff Tire and Service.
That's an awesome giveaway.
Yes, sir.
Awesome giveaway here. So this is going to go to the audience member that comments in that comment section their name and oil change.
Yep.
Oil change. And we will put your name in a drawing for a free oil change and tire rotation. Again, approved by Mitch
GM.
Lucky.
Yes, sir.
So
Right.
that is a very practical.
It's about $100 value right there.
That is
Pretty
awesome.
easy.
So there you go. Not first person, but you comment your name and oil change, and we'll put it in our cup here to draw for a giveaway. So speaking of our cup for giveaway here, we need to draw for our Passion Bible that we never gave away. So we have our Jesus Passion Bible. Now there's one name in the cup, really quick, time out. One name in the cup that's already won a Bible.
Okay.
So do you think
don't pick them.
Yeah, we don't really want to pick them.
Obviously not.
So
I'll take care of that.
And he picked them.
No, he didn't.
Congratulations, Rita Bailey.
Hey,
Rita Bailey.
shout out.
Shout out to Miss Rita and your new Bible here. Passion Dome Edition 20. What do we say?
2019, baby.
2017.
I think it was 2017. Was
I
it?
think, wasn't it?
Somewhere it says it on there.
It's on the back.
Yeah. So that's your Bible. See us at the church. We will get that to you, Miss
17.
Rita. So also we had a giveaway, Christian Miller in the comments again, in a giveaway for a hat.
Big hat guy.
Big hat guy. So this was the bracket hat that Christian can get. See us again with all your other giveaways. Then also Hannah Jenkins commented hat in an episode, and I went back to look. So first off, shout out to Hannah. Great to have you in the comment section. She said, great conversation. I love how you helped to influence your parents' decision to go to church through your own obedience, Lance. Then she said hat, all caps with 2 exclamation points. So I went back and looked, and I don't think we gave a hat away in that episode. So I'm wondering if, Hannah, you're interested in one of our Journey merch hats. And if so, just let me know in the church and we can get you a hat. And if anybody else wants a hat, they're available as well. Let me see here if I'm missing anything else. Oh, there's one other thing that needs to be noted. Auburn, read that.
This is from a giveaway. This is a new giveaway or the same giveaway?
It's the same one.
It's the same one, but no one ever
I'm just
claimed
here.
it.
I'm just here to tell you, I'm about to claim it for Mother's Day. It says, "Don't jank my wrapping paper anymore," with a smiley face. So this is our ladies exclusive giveaway. If you would like it, please comment ladies giveaway. It didn't take the first time because I might just say the wrapping was pretty bad, but now we have a beautiful gift wrap that you could quite frankly give straight to your wife, mother, or grandmother.
Yeah, you don't even have to wrap it.
You don't even have to know what's inside.
Yep.
But when this episode is live, you'll give it to her in Mother's Day of 2027, not 2026.
Facts.
But shout out to Miss Tammy for updating her wrapping here.
She was pressed about it. She came to the Welcome Center yesterday and she said, "Have y'all given away my stuff yet?" And I said, "No. What do you have that bag for?" And she said, "I'm going to wrap it in this stuff so that Auburn will quit janking."
I mean, it was
my
pretty
wrapping."
wrinkled up.
So, so she came in and snuck into the studio, Neil. We got people sneaking in our studio.
She went to your office first and she came back about 5 minutes later. She said, "It's locked. So maybe it's in the studio."
She snuck into the studio and put the new wrapping on her gift there. So
Looks great.
if you are interested in this giveaway, what do we say? Comment in the comment section.
Ladies giveaway.
Ladies giveaway. We'll draw. Are we drawing or just first person?
It's up to you.
First person to comment ladies giveaway.
First lady
ladies
exclusive.
to comment ladies giveaway. You get that, but everybody can put their name in for the free oil change from McGriff Tires.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week.